The staff ride concept was brought to CAL FIRE by Region Chief Bill Holmes in 2003. Getting the Lauder Fire into a staff ride model was the original workings of him and Chief Greg Bertelli and Chief Chris Waters.
I had been invited by the Forest Service to participate on one of the first staff rides they were conducting at South Canyon in Colorado. And I went on that as a student and observer and was so taken by it, I brought it back and started developing an issue paper to get the approval from the department to pursue doing staff rides at CAL FIRE. Mostly it's in the field training, actually going to the site where an incident occurred, perhaps where firefighters were injured or killed. We all travel there, spend the day, maybe 2 days out there, literally walking, hiking through the incident, and then stopping at certain points that are significant, studying what happened at that point in time on the incident. Then at the end, we do an integration phase where everyone gets together and talks about what they learned. You actually get to truly feel the ground, the steepness of the terrain, the fuel types, the aspect, and try and really break apart the incident into little micro points and study them and see where things went wrong. It's pretty emotional at the end when you do those things. So I hope it encourages everybody to be a student of history, because if you understand what happened in the past, you're more likely not to repeat it in the future.
So we start out at Hopper's Corner. It's a grocery store, and that's a rally point. We get accountability for everybody. We kind of treat it like the incident itself. Like they arrive to the incident, which is the staff ride. We get accountability for everybody. We talk about the plan for the day, time frames, and what's expected of them. From there, we carpool because the Lauder Fire is in a really remote area in the Mendocino National Forest.
All right, guys, this is Trout Springs Campground. So this is a little memorial they have here for Dennis. This site was chosen because of the site being behind lock gates on private property. This is somewhere everybody can come to kind of pay their respect.
At Trout Springs, we talk about the events leading up to the Lauder Fire, the Mendenhall fire that had been burning, the thousands of lightning strikes that had happened in the weeks prior, the time of year. We talk about the weather for the day, personal fatigue on the crew and all the firefighters that year. There's also some contributing factors. So you had an intermixing of crews. You get interjected into a crew that you're not comfortable with. How comfortable are you to speak up if there's an issue?
Actually walking the footsteps that someone passed away at on a fatality fire, really get your mind thinking. What would you do in this area? Could you do it better? Would you do anything better? Would you change your strategies and tactics? My expectations are to look at the terrain, kind of get feedback of what I would do if I was managing this incident as a first-in fire agent.
So from Trout Springs, we go to the toe of the slope where the first IC was there, Captain Brian Cornegay. This is the anchor point. They anchored in with engine 1166 and grabbed the chainsaw, and they went up the hoselay. And during this time, there was communication with Captain Wattenberger at the top of the hill to the air attack and relaying down to Doug McDonnell about getting up to the top of the ridge. And there was a discussion point on whether to go back to the aircraft and get flown up to the ridge or to just hike up. Doug decided just to hike up through the green and try to get to the top of the ridge. They leave the hoselay and they try to make hay up through the green up to the ridge and eventually get some underslung line, slop out beneath them, and then they get trapped by fire.
My name is Brian Cornegay. I'm a retired fire captain from CAL FIRE. I worked at Ukiah Station And on September 29th, 1987, I was the initial incident commander on the Lauder fire. I got a call from dispatch stating they're getting numerous reports of a new fire out in the Lauder area. Well, I had a heck of a time getting in there. It was way out in the middle of nowhere. As I approached the fire, I could never see the fire until I got to the base of it. It was that overgrown with vegetation and everything. I could see the glow. So I figured we'd just go direct. That was my plan of attack. I said we'll put some engines on both sides and pump up as far as we can. And I told everybody at the time, I said everybody keep 1 foot in the black.
We talk about the chain of events that happen in these case studies. They don't bring their chainsaw. They didn't land at the top of the hill, which was the senior captain's plan. With some direction from the IC, they land at the heel. We're trying to build that depth into the individual that's on the staff ride to put themselves in those positions. If you feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, then maybe you should reevaluate what you're doing. And then we go up the hill. About a third of the way up there, where we kind of guesstimate where the hoselay stopped and where the helitack crew left the hoselay, and tried to make it to the top of the ridge. And we talk about the decision, is this a good idea? What are your thoughts on this? It's a very interactive class. I want feedback from the individuals, the students. Yes or no, they would do it. And from there, we go up to where we guesstimate where they realize that they're out of options and they have to retreat to the black. And the black's not cool and clean because it's slash piles and brush, so they're taking on heat. We talk about the decision point to do that, whether they, what are some of their options? Do they go up to the top of the hill? They go back down the line?
What options did you have at the previous stand that you don't have now?
Escape route. Hoselay.
Yeah, your escape route was that hoselay, right?
We'd been fighting fire for well over, actual, boots on the ground for well over an hour. The plan was coming together. We were going direct on both flanks and working up the flanks with hose. We got the helicopters in there pretty close to right after daybreak. It was probably 7 a.m. Well, I thought we had gone a lot further than what we did, but considering how steep the ground was, the terrain was, I think we only went up probably about 400 feet. One seasoned captain up at the top, he come in with the contract ship, and he'd been clearing the area for an LZ for the other copter, and I guess he wanted the other crew up there because he kept telling the crew they need him up there to bump on up. That's what I'd heard. I kept hearing, I said, they're getting a lot of spots up there. We need, it's pretty hot up here, something to that effect, and they're needed up there, so bump on up. I heard them talking on yellow air, but I couldn't communicate with them because the Midland radio wouldn't allow that particular model of radio to talk back. You could only monitor it. So I never made communications with them.
We actually end at the monument where Denis's memorial is, and we talk about them seeking refuge in their fire shelters. The captain had good command and control of them. He kept them all together. Crew resource management wasn't even a thing in 1987, but they did it. They stuck together as a crew. We talk about the delay in the extraction of the burn victims.
They ordered 2 Coast Guard helicopters to extract the injured, and it took them a couple hours to pull that off. A helicopter that's normally designed to perform at sea level and then is getting asked to perform at 4,000 feet, it's a significant change. So they had to burn off a bunch of fuel before they could even pull off a rescue.
Now we're here at the memorial of Denis Lee Cullins, where he unfortunately passed away after they did their shelter deployments. So the hike, it was a lot steeper than what I anticipated it to be. I was trying to move at a fairly fast pace to get my heart rate up, put myself in those boots of what those individuals went through during the time that they were cutting hand line to trying to hike up to get to the top where Copter 101 was working. I wasn't real too sure what to expect when I got here, but now that we're here and just looking at the slope, I think the captain off Copter 102 made a right decision to deploy on this bench. Unfortunately, one of our own perished.
It was tough. They actually trying to figure out where they were on the slope, the smoke. The other helicopter pilots and stuff couldn't see them to try to give some water support in there to help cooling them down. They eventually did find them. They had whistles and a signal mirror. Anything? Any questions? You all see the flag? It's tough because the way the wind's blowing today. We come out here to show that even at the memorial site, that it looks like you can easily get up to the top of the ridge, and you can see back here from a distance that it's considerable steepness and a lot of terrain to navigate through to get to the top of the hill.
I wanted to come back and be part of the cadre. This was my first time coming back since I was a student. Up to that point, I had done 2 case studies on this fire, and it was really just good to connect the dots. It's easy to, watch the videos, read the reports on it, but I don't think you grasp the whole thing until you are up on the hill. I think it's very important to keep doing classes like these and learning from, unfortunately, others, so in order to not make those same mistakes, or at least give people an awareness of, hey, we could have maybe done this a little bit differently.
So the Lauder fire drove the change in these Hueys to make a short haul program so that we could rescue our own people. So the Lauder fire has drove a lot of change. With that, radio communications, instituting the short haul program so we can rescue our own people, and then it's evolved into the air rescue portion, and then now we're into the Black Hawks where we're doing with a fixed mounted hoist. So it's evolved generationally since 1987.